MediGroup Physician Services presents MediGroup's Frank's Fast Five with Healthcare Executives, produced by Bridget Wilson and Carrie Peters. Today's guest is Bindi Mehta, Corporate Account Executive GPOs for Henry Schein. Now, here's your host, MediGroup's Frank Gillespie.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of MediGroup's Frank's Fast Five with healthcare executives. Today, I have the good fortune of getting to talk with a distribution executive that provides so much support to MediGroup's members. From our regular calls to working individually with members of our team, this lady has her finger on the pulse of what we do. Please welcome Bindi Mehta. Bindi is our Corporate Account Executive GPOs with Henry Schein. Bindi, it is an honor and welcome.
Thank you so much, Frank, and thanks for having me. Always love talking to you and seeing your face.
Well, you're so kind. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for making the time for us. So
Sure.
I promised you I wouldn't waste your time today, so I'm just going to jump right into these questions and just be comfortable in answering them. So, Bindi, the first question, could you share a bit about your experience in the healthcare industry, the various roles you've had up until today?
Sure, yeah. So I've actually been in the industry for about 21 years.
Oh, wow.
20 of those have been either working at a GPO or with a GPO. So really, the GPO world within healthcare has sort of been what I've been immersed in my entire career. It started out back in 2003 with Broadlane, which I think many of your viewers may remember from back in the day, is now current day Vizient. Started there working on the non-acute team and really kind of ping-ponged is kind of how I think of my career within the GPOs, because I ping-ponged between working on the non-acute team and then sales operations. So two very different, distinct roles, but all kind of intertwined. But spent the majority of my time at Broadlane on the non-acute team, helping build out our physician services program, worked on the ASC team for a bit. And on the operations side, really got to understand the acute care sales function. This is a very different sell than non-acute, and I think
Sure.
people will understand, right? Much longer, much more complex. So was on the operations side there, helping our sales team. This is around the time also that Salesforce.com was becoming kind of prolific. So helped run that platform. So learned a lot. It was a smaller company at the time, so had the fortune of being able to move around kind of nimbly. Had great managers, great colleagues. And then when MedAssets acquired Broadlane, I was still in operations and then found an opportunity on the non-acute side. So went back to non-acute and then was VP of corporate distribution at the time. So really got to dig in deeper with our distribution partners on a level I hadn't previously.
Okay.
And through that, like kind of peeling back the curtain, I was like, wow, there's some interesting stuff here with distribution that I was sort of intrigued by. And so, after 13 years at the GPO, I decided to make the leap and moved to Henry Schein. And that's where I've been for the past 7 years.
Well, fantastic. That's a great background. Awesome. And I don't know if are aware that I used to work for MedAssets. I was there for 15 years. So
I think I knew that. Yeah.
that's really crazy. And I've always had a passion for distribution myself. When I worked for HSCA that became Interlear,
Right.
I was there. I shouldn't say HSA became Interlear, became Broadlane and MedAssets, but I did distribution there as well. So that's very exciting. I didn't know we had
Yeah.
that similarity there.
Yeah. A little combined background.
Absolutely. So, Bindi, so our viewers know what is involved in your role today with Henry Schein.
Yeah, so as a corporate account executive on GPOs, I actually specifically manage the Vizient relationship. So that includes Provista and channel partners such as MediGroup. And, because Vizient obviously is so large, there's so much that goes into it. And while Henry Schein is specifically a non-acute distributor, there are different strategies and projects we are working on to further our footprint within Vizient. So, my role entails everything from helping negotiate the legal agreements to working with our contracts teams, membership, finance, and the same on the Vizient side. I'm sort of the point person, if something's needed. And then more importantly, really working on strategies, right? Like what can we do to work together for our mutual members and new business? So really working with our sales teams. We have a robust field sales force here at Henry Schein well as our business development executives and our client managers. So, we have so many people that touch Vizient customers. So how can we all, how can I help them help our mutual members, and on the flip side, help Vizient. It's a complex role. Vizient's huge, and I think, as you know, Frank, GPOs can be complicated.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not in it in the day to day, which many of our sales folks aren't, I'm really here to be kind of a support for them and help them navigate that as they're working with their members.
And you're fantastic. Our team has a great amount of respect for you. And I, Carrie and Bridget, work very closely with you and love working with you. And I know we do our monthly calls, and it's always, great to get together. And just sometimes the calls are 5 minutes and sometimes they're a little longer. It just depends on what's on the agenda. But we touch base and you
Yep.
keep the things on the forefront for us. So we really appreciate it. And our team loves working with you. So with that said, how does working with the GPO bring value to your team and to your reps?
Yeah, I think as I've been thinking about this, I feel like now our members are looking more of that for that consultative approach, right? They're looking for who's my trusted advisor, with all the issues that we had with the pandemic and supply chain disruptions,
Right.
who can I lean on to be my eyes and ears? And I think the GPO and distributors have such a great opportunity to bridge and come together, right? And say, hey, what are we going to do here as a unit to be that trusted advisor for our mutual customers? And I think, with the GPOs and the phenomenal contracts that are negotiated, and then our ability to really implement them and run with them, right? I think
Right.
that's where it works together. We have a phenomenal contracts team that works so well with the GPOs and specifically with Vizient. And I know, Frank, you and your team know them very well. That makes such a difference. And I think, obviously on the sales front, of course, but even on the back end functions, from beginning to end, having that synergy, working together, I really think that's what brings value not only to both our organizations, GPO and distributor, but to the member, because they're going to see, hey, listen, I don't need to worry about anything. I know that I have the best team behind me, and they can focus on patient care, right? Because at the end of the day, I think that's what we all want for our customers and members is
Absolutely.
you focus on taking care of the patient population. We're going to help you with these supply chain things. So so I think the value really isn't just having that relationship, building on the work that we've already done in the past, creating new programs, new initiatives that are beneficial, and really knowing that we're partners, right? And I think that's the way I view GPOs is that we're partners and we're all in here for the same reason. And so let's kind of work together to make health happen, I guess, is kind of the tagline we use here at Henry Schein.
No, absolutely. And you're a prime example of that. We really appreciate it. And I know Karen Garber and her team in your contracts administration
Yep.
area do a fantastic job. We love working with Karen, and she keeps us abreast of different things we need to do from a contract perspective. And you kind of coordinate all that above all of that. So really appreciate that. Thank you. It makes a big difference. It really does for our
Yeah,
for our members as
absolutely.
well. So with that said too, then what are some challenges you faced over the last few years, and how have you overcome them? Maybe one challenge or a couple of challenges, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest challenge, and I think we were just talking about it earlier, being a working mom, to be honest with you, for me has been more challenging than I think I would have thought. Mostly because I had my daughter at what society deems an advanced maternal age, so I was a little bit older when I had her, which means I worked for
Sure,
years, without that responsibility of taking care of a child, and so I
sure.
was sort of in the zone. I, knew how to be, when it comes to my work life, I had a groove. And then when that all changes, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I still be the best employee I can be, but also the best parent? And I think this is something that, resonates with parents all over the world, really.
It does.
And so it was challenging and it continues to be challenging, right? Like you have to find that balance. And for me, it's really been, time management. It's huge. And, time management is important everywhere, but it's really important when you have, a child or children that you're trying to get from here to there, and you got meetings. And now in our work from home culture, it's so
Yeah.
prevalent that you're around more than you maybe were in an office. And then prioritizing, I think making time for the important things in your life, whether it's, an important project or your family, just really finding
For sure.
that balance. And so I think, it's a work in progress, but I think I've been intentional in that and just trying to, find the right groove for me. But yeah, I would say that's probably been one of the biggest challenges I've had, and it's ongoing, right? And I'm
Absolutely.
trying to
That's
find my
real
way.
life. That's real
Yeah,
life for sure.
exactly.
And I've always been blessed to work for companies that was family first, and MediGroup's the same way. And
Exactly.
it sounds like Henry Schein's the same way. And
Absolutely.
when you know that everybody's on that same page, family first, it makes it a little bit easier to meet some of those day challenges, because if something pops up within family, everybody's going to be on board with you taking care of that first, and that makes all the difference in the world. At least it always has for me. So
100%. I agree.
absolutely. So this always goes faster than I think it's going to go. And here we are at the last question, but you've been so great and so articulate. Thank you so much. So, Bindi, last question. what is a favorite hobby for you? What do you do for fun? And I have to admit to the audience, I just learned today where you live and what a fantastic location and lots of opportunities there. But what other things do you do from a hobby perspective?
Yeah. So yeah, as you mentioned, I live in New York City, in Manhattan. Not from here, right? So I'm from Texas, but moved here for my husband's job, and it's just kind of worked out. So for the past several years, we've been here, and one of the things we love to do is just exploring New York. I mean, goes without saying, there's so much to do here. We love to, watch shows, go to the museum, Central Park. There's so many things to do. So one of the things that we really love on the weekends is just to go out there and explore. And I'll tell you, New York through the eyes of a child is amazing. My daughter is 4 and she's seeing things that, gosh, I didn't see or know about till I was at least in my 20s. She can point out the Empire State Building and knows the High Line and understands, how to get on the subway from here to there. Like it's so interesting and so different. And I look at this girl, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a city kid, which is so different than what I was
That's
living
wild.
in
I love it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But so I just love spending time with my family on the weekends. I also love to read and write. I have like passion projects on the side. I just like to, do some nonfiction writing. So you never know, you might see my name on a bookshelf or on Amazon, wherever you buy books.
That's
Just
very cool. I
yeah.
have to look to that. Absolutely. And I've got to ask you, and this wasn't one of the questions we talked
Yeah.
about. Since I learned you live in New York City, do you have a favorite restaurant?
Oh my gosh, so many. I would say one of our favorites is Jack's Wife Frida. It's kind of a funny name, but it's a really
Okay.
cute place. There's about 2 locations, I think. Love that, and several others. So if you ever need a list, or if anyone needs a list, I have like a spreadsheet. But that's a good one that I really like, and a ton of brunch spots. And now the weather's turning, so we're excited
Yeah,
to do some outdoor dining on
very
rooftops and
cool.
stuff. But
Very
yeah.
cool. Well, this has been fun. And it's great to see you. I'm usually just on the phone with you, don't get a
Mhm.
chance to talk to you live and in person. So this has been an honor for me. Thank you for making the time for MediGroup today and really, really appreciate it. And it's been fun. Thank you so
Oh
much.
gosh. Thank you so much, Frank. Love working with your team as well and really
Thank you.
appreciate this opportunity. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you too.
Thank
I'll talk to
you.
you soon.
Okay, see you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been MediGroup's Frank's Fast Five with Healthcare Executives, produced by Bridget Wilson and Carrie Peters, and hosted by Frank Gillespie. Special thanks to Bindi Mehta, Corporate Account Executive GPOs for Henry Schein. This has been a presentation of MediGroup Physician Services.